When I was racing in those years, motor racing was dangerous and sex was safe. The swinging 60s. But I mean, it's a joke, but it's not a joke, because, you know, everything's been improved since then. And now we've gone, as we are speaking here today, it's 20 years, 3 months and 10 days since we lost the life of a Grand Prix driver in a Formula One race. I mean, that's better risk management than any industry I know, any corporation I know, any sport that I know. At, you know, 210 miles an hour, you know, centimeters or half inches apart, and yet there's huge accidents, but drivers survive them. So the racetracks are safer, the spectators are better protected, the drivers are in a cocoon now, almost a safety cell. And if an accident happens, the medical facilities are better than most big hospitals for that one weekend with the best possible equipment for the type of accidents or injuries that would be expected. So it's changed fantastically. You know, we're talking the 60s and 70s, and motorsport just had blossomed into a huge industry because of the big car companies becoming involved, making the engines and the components, the tires, the fuel, the oil. Huge multinational corporations getting involved. And somehow or other, the racetracks themselves didn't change. And safety was a terrible problem at the time. We were killing so many people. And if you raced for, at that time, for 5 years, for example, there was a 2 out of 3 chance you were going to die. I mean, a 1 out of 3 you were going to live. Ridiculous. Okay, this is not the way it should be. So we boycotted several racetracks, big ones, like the Nürburgring in Germany, which was the most famous racetrack in the world, but also the most dangerous, because it was 14.7 miles around for every lap. It was 187 corners every lap. And there weren't enough marshals. It would have taken the German army to marshal it properly. And nobody could afford that. So we closed the Nürburgring. And it now has not been used for Formula One for a great many years. Lots of sports are not like motorsports. In motorsports, we have the backings of these big multinationals. And it means that you can have a contract with Ford Motor Company, Goodyear. We had Elf Aquitaine, which is a very big French fuel company, oil company. And then I had ABC. So I had already a 5-year projected program ahead of me, which and Rolex, I wasn't doing a lot for then, but because their ambassadors are more on photographs and advertising, so you do some photographs and sessions. But now I'm much deeper involved with Rolex, and I'm traveling the world with Rolex today. But it meant that I had a world after sport. I bought my first Rolex here in America. When I did the Indy 500 in 1966, I was driving for a Texan called John Meekum from Houston, Texas. And I dreamt about having a Rolex watch. I mean, it was just a big thing in my head. And because I was being paid quite well to do the Indy 500, I said, finally, I'm gonna break out. So I just said it to John mildly, and he says, I know a really good Rolex dealer in Houston. I'll get you the price, and I'm sure he'll be very generous for you, because he knows you're going to drive for me, and he was a big Rolex fan himself. So I bought my first Rolex, a gold day-date with President bracelet, and that was the beginning. And then in 1968, Andre Heiniger, who was a fantastic man, he was with Rolex for 55 years. He put me under contract with Arnold Palmer and Jean-Claude Killy, the great skier. So the 3 of us signed, and we're still with Rolex. I mean, it's an amazing relationship, 46 years. It's a very special brand, and it's got a great respect. If you're winning a Rolex, you're winning something special. And the company's like that. It's so solid. It's got the most beautiful corporate headquarters, I think, of any company in the world. It's just magnificent. And it's wrong to call it a factory where they make the watches, because it's so beautifully maintained, not just for cleanliness, but the architecture, just everything. It's very, very unusual. I suppose the most colourful, the most glamorous and the most exciting was the Monaco Grand Prix, particularly in the days of Prince Rainier and more importantly perhaps, Princess Grace, because Her Serene Highness was the most serene woman you could ever have hoped to meet. Not only beautiful, but you know, so gushing in every way, in such a stylish fashion. So Princess Grace, when you won the Monaco Grand Prix, even the Formula 3 race for the start-up people, and that was me, I won that, the little one, before I got to the Formula 1 one. And if you won that race, or you won the Formula 1 race, you sat, the Formula 1 driver and the Formula 3 driver would be on each side of Princess Grace at the gala, black tie dinner, the night after the Grand Prix weekend. And I won there 4 times, so I got to know them quite well. And in fact, my son Paul's here at Pebble Beach, and we used to go down on holiday with them and stay with them in the palace because we got to know each other very well. So Monaco, you know, the Mediterranean's out there, the harbour, the most expensive yachts in the world, and then the Maritime Alps are behind you, and then all the beautiful shops, you know, whether it's Rolex or whether it's Louis Vuitton or whether it's Dior, whether it's Armani, everybody's there. And the restaurants, and it's the beginning of the Riviera season. And Monaco is very special for that, because everybody comes to the Cannes Film Festival and then go over to Monaco. And the people are coming from Latin America, from Brazil and Argentina, etc. They're coming in from Russia nowadays. They're coming in from all over the world. So it's by far the most colourful. But Singapore now is very important because it's so commercially important as a financial capital of Asia. So Grand Prix racing, you know, it's certainly the biggest financial sport in the world. I mean, everybody over here thinks of baseball, basketball, ice hockey or whatever else, but Formula 1 is totally global, and most of these others are domestic for each continent or each country, whereas Formula 1 just is a long-legged traveller. I mean, we're in Russia for a Grand Prix this year, we're in Malaysia and Korea and China, we're in Australia, we're in India, we're, you know, all the European countries, of course, as well. So it's Formula 1 and motorsport is still big, and it's so heavily used by the commercial world in advertising, etc. Well, the fastest one. In Formula 1, I would, right now as we speak, then I would drive for Mercedes-Benz, because they have the best package at the present time. They're very well financed, they're well structured, they've got a very good engine, they've got a wonderful technical staff right now. But you know, this changes. It's Red Bull, for example, have got a Formula 1 team based in the UK. Britain is now the capital of motorsports technology for the whole world. We employ about 40,000 people in the motorsports industry in the United Kingdom. And therefore everybody, even NASCAR and IndyCar, comes to Europe for their technology, Italy, sometimes Germany, France, but mostly Britain. So therefore, as a sport, Formula 1 is the leading one with the biggest money. I've had the privilege of seeing a great range of racing drivers in different categories all over the world. The greatest driver, I think, of all time is a man called Juan Manuel Fangio, an Argentinian, a fantastic man, won the World Championship 5 times. Didn't drive a Formula 1 car until he was 39 years of age, and went on to win 5 World Championships in 5 different cars. different types of cars. Jim Clark, fellow Scot, was the best racing driver I ever raced against. Went beautifully smooth. My favourite of the more modern would be Alain Prost, the Frenchman, a man of average height. Again, beautifully smooth. Senna was recognised in a way as the people's champion, but he wasn't as smooth and as clean to drive. Prost won 4 world championships. Senna won 3, the same as I did. Niki Lauda is another great driver. There's been Michael Schumacher, and it's a tragic story that he had a skiing accident and has still not fully recovered from that. But he won 7 world championships at a time when Ferrari were so dominant that the car was as good as the driver, if you know what I mean. No, I think I've been lucky. I've seen Sebastian Vettel is, you know, has had back-to-back 4 times world champion, which is very unusual back-to-back. So he's good. He's an Austrian. Excuse me, he's a German. Niki was an Austrian. Jochen Rindt was another great colleague of mine, was a great driver. So I've been very lucky to have been at a period probably when there was the best collection of top racing drivers that the world's ever seen.